Hey everybody, I'm Andrew from Optimizy. So here's the t-shirt with the branding look. So as the t-shirt probably suggests, I'm an SEO guy, but I'm going to be talking with you with Semrush today about typestudio.co and looking at their landing pages from a kind of landing page optimization point of view. So kind of on the edges of SEO and content and all those kind of things, but I'm going to go through some of the things that I would look at if I was looking at this site. And Type Studio were a client of mine. I know Semrush have got a whole bunch of smart people looking at some other stuff too. So hopefully a few nuggets and things for you people watching, and for the Type Studio team, hopefully some interesting stuff. I've got some notes over here. So if I keep looking over there, that's because I've got all my notes over there about the kind of stuff we're going to go through. I got a whole bunch of tabs open. So some spoilers if you look up there about what might be coming up. But yeah, let's go with all this. So here we go, and the Semrush tool, which hopefully most of you will be familiar with. So I've put typestudio.co up here, the domain name up here, and Semrush has done all its magic stuff. I've got it to run off in the background and do all those things ahead of time, so I don't have to wait around so much for it, but it's usually pretty quick. And I've gone into the organic research tab over here because what I'm looking for is the kind of landing pages to target. So yes, of course, there'll be hundreds of pages on this site. We could go through them all, but the things I'm looking for is patterns across like 2 or 3 different pages. The big ones I'm going to look at, see what kind of patterns I can pick up from there. And then probably those kind of things are going to be similar across lots of pages, and we can start applying those things across other different sections of the site. So in this organic research tab over here on the left, and then I've set it to the US because, as you might be able to tell by my accent, I'm based in the UK, so that's normally where it defaults for me. But I'm guessing with Type Studio, you're probably thinking about, well, where are the most people? And if you're an English language site like this one, the US is a pretty big target market, and you can see here by the number of keywords that Semrush has got more useful data on this. So once we've gone into here and we've got organic research in the US, then I'm going into this Pages tab up here. And then I'm going to be looking for the pages that I want to target and start looking at and working with. So you can see some of the ones here, the ones that Type Studio have got that are ranking particularly well. They've got a good chunk of the percentage-wise of the organic traffic that this site gets, some of the keywords they're ranking for. And so this is probably where I'd start. Like, if you can make a 2 or 3% difference to one page, then which page would you do it to? You do it to the one that gets the most traffic, and that hopefully if you can make 2 or 3% more of those kind of people that come into that page and convert them into business and leads, then that's going to be a pretty good place to start. So that's the kind of thing that I do when working on a site like this. Look at those kind of, the low-hanging fruit is the cliched phrase. Like where is the place where I can, with the minimum amount of work, make the maximum amount of impact. So that's where I'd start. And you're looking at these, you can look at this site's doing pretty well. So you can see from these kind of 1, 2, 3 top pages we've got here, they're ranking for 449 keywords. This one's ranking for 374 different keywords, 109. So these are doing pretty well. So this is some pretty good stuff. You can see that this site's already performing pretty well. So kudos to them. I could say some great things about this, and we could go through all the things that you've done right, but I'm not sure that's going to be all that beneficial. But you can see some cool stuff that they're doing. And if you go in to look at some of these pages and we look at some of the keywords that these pages are ranking for, you can see they're already doing pretty well. So let me hide this sharing thing away. But you can see, and also it's another interesting thing to me, which I love in the Semrush tool. You can see some of the featured snippets, things that they're already showing up for. So they're already showing up in some FAQ type features in the search results. And this is all just for one page. So for all these keywords, they're ranking pretty well. So they're in the top 10 positions, top 9, top 5, top 11 kind of here, and they're appearing with lots of FAQs. So they're maximizing their opportunities in the search results, which is a really great thing to see. So you can see with this one, transcribe video to text. Let's have a look at it. This is a great feature in Semrush. So you can see a screenshot of what the search result looked like. So here we go. It runs off in the background. It loads up the search results for you. And you can see here's Type Studio ranking in this search result. So you can see all the other stuff that's above it. But in a search for transcribe video to text, pretty targeted to what this page wants. And here's Type Studio highlighted in the search results here. And you can see these are the kind of FAQ things that, because of the schema markup they've used in their page, it maximizes the space. Look how big this kind of big area is. It's kind of highlighted by Semrush because this is the domain we're looking at. But compared to some of the people around them, they're only getting 1, 2, 3 lines. And this is getting 1, 2, 3 lines and these extra things here, which expand underneath here. This is pretty cool. So Type Studio doing some pretty good stuff already on those kind of things. So those are the bits that we enjoy seeing. So there I am, come back again. So well done on all that kind of stuff. But so those are the things that I like, and I'm looking at it and I'm being encouraged by all those things. But I'm going to take you through some of the other things that I would spot and the things that I might suggest to this company if I was working with them that I would go and look to improve. So here we go. Let's look at this first page, transcribe to video. We're going to look at this search result here. We've got translate to video. This is a similar kind of page that I looked at, also ranking pretty well in the search results. you can see that this page that we're looking at, and the things I like about this page, you've got these big kind of clear calls to action. So translate now, sign up for free. These are things prompting me to take that next step and go through. And we've got this, there's a phrase in the UK called the Ron Seal test. It was from a famous TV ad many, many years ago. I'm showing my age now. But it was a guy selling wood stain, like, to stain your fence or your shed, all these kind of things. And the Ron Seal test, like, it does exactly what it says on the tin. That was their kind of tagline for this wood stain, because it was a tin of wood stain. It said wood stain on it, and you bought it and it stained your wood. Hey, so I like this about the Type Studio page, that it's like translate video online. It passes the Ron Seal test. That's what this thing does. So that's great. We scroll down a little bit here. We've got some nice social proof things here. Like, these are big companies that I've heard of: Sixt, Harvard, Microsoft, Yamaha. I know those brands. And, it says that this is used by teams like these people. That's kind of reassuring for me if I'm thinking about giving this website my credit card information and I can see they're used by all these big names. That's pretty cool. And that's reassuring. Okay, there's the good stuff. So now let's get on to some of the stuff where it's like, right, things that I'm looking at that I would look to improve. One of the things that particularly didn't work so well for me when looking at this page, and I always feel really picky. So I've kind of looked into Type Studio. I didn't know them before I was kind of working with Semrush on this. I think they're a German-based company, or based in Berlin, in Germany. So I always feel really picky because as a native English speaker who sometimes struggles with English, like, picking up other people's use of language when it's like their second, third, maybe fourth language always seems really picky. But, these are the kind of things that these tiny details are going to be the sort of things that your potential customers will pick up on. And this is where like a really good copyright and a really good translation service will be worth their weight in gold. Like, it's expensive, right? Getting something done properly is more costly than getting it done cheaply, and like using Google Translate, and like, the guy that, his English and German are pretty good and they can probably get away with it. Yeah, that's okay. But like, using a really good copywriter is going to be the difference, like night and day difference. So just some of the kind of things that I picked up on. So like, this kind of first image here is great, but if you look into this, like, we're talking about translating video, and there's mistakes in here. So we've kind of got this video transcribed and it says, "Hey everyone, my name's Alex from Type Studio and I'm excited to introduce you to Type Studio is new video." It's like, that's not what you mean. And I get that, I've had a crack with having a go with this kind of software, but it doesn't matter what the truth is. Like, this is marketing. Like, you kind of want to market the point that you want them to get to. So yes, of course, this is truthful and honest, and this is exactly what the service does. And then it kind of shows here highlighting you can go and fix it. But, you kind of want to sell the dream at this point, right? This is the first image on the site. So maybe look at those kind of things. Coming down a bit further, then we go into these kind of language choices here, like translate video into a foreign language. And that's, I don't know, it just feels odd to me. It's a bit like every language apart from your own is foreign, right? So it just seems like an interesting choice of words. So translate video into another language would work just as well. So foreign, just, I don't know, it sounds a bit sort of divisive and kind of odd with that kind of stuff. And then I guess, say, just like little thing, I'm going to pick through loads of these. I'm really sorry if you wrote this, but like, so translation service on your browser. This is one of those really interesting things. So I've got lots of European continental friends who, speak English as a second language. And I think this is just the kind of translation thing. So like one of my Dutch friends, they always talk about like, foto maken, like, making a photo. But what they mean in English is taking a photo, but it's just a weird translation thing. So like, when they, they say, oh, like, we're in a tourist spot and they're like, oh, will you make a photo of me? And it's like, you mean take a photo? It's really picky. I knew what they meant, but it's like this kind of stuff, like, just jars, and you're kind of shifting people out of that happy moment of like, yes, I'm ready to give you my money and I want to buy this, like, translation service in your browser. Just little things like that. So this kind of stuff here, like, no matter in which original language your video is in, it's just not quite flowing quite right. It's like, those kind of things a good copywriter will really help you out with. There's some other interesting bits here that I picked up. And so these 2 country shortcodes, so the languages that Type Studio currently supports, well, I know some of these, but like, I know quite a lot, I think, of these 2-letter shortcodes for languages, because, in SEO, we use them in hreflang and all these kind of things all the time. But not all of these were familiar to me. I had to Google a couple of these, like, to remind, is that one, is that kind of, is that Turkish or Tunisia? I'm not sure. So I think, you could use a lot more visual things, like, it's a really, I'm going to pick apart on it later about like using flags instead of languages, because I know they're not the same thing. But like, there are some visual options you could use here, or like, just spell out the languages that you use. Like 2-letter shortcodes just potentially are confusing people. I think the other thing I spotted with this, having looked through the whole page, is that there's 16 different languages listed here, and actually slightly further down the page, we might come to and see it in a second, you get up to 25. So there's actually more. So it's just these kind of things. And again, that happens, like, your service will be updating and improving all the time. You're adding new languages, But then these are big landing pages drawing in a lot. We saw from Semrush that a lot of the traffic comes and starts their journey on these pages. They don't know that you've updated it. This might be the first time they've ever come across you. And if they see 16 languages instead of 25, and one of those missing languages is the one they want to use, you lost that customer straight away. They're gone. So those kind of things where you can just update those things to expand and show off like how much you've improved is really great. Having talked about all these lovely calls to action, like if you scroll to this kind of point, then this is a call to action button. It kind of changes color when I hover over it, but it's not so prominent. Like, the biggest things on the screen are these kind of images, and we've got the big blue button up here and like get help, kind of talking to your chat service kind of thing. But this is like what you want them to do, like try it. So, but it kind of grays off into the background. It's a bit lowercase. It's not quite the kind of grabbing me by the throat and making me kind of take that next step. So I think some of these kind of calls to action could be a little bit more prominent too. Some other kind of language things, so multi-track caption and subtitles. I feel like this is like almost going another direction with language choices. Like it's almost getting a bit jargony, like multi-track caption. What does that mean? Like, I don't, this is somebody who's, your target audience is maybe somebody like me who's looking to translate their videos. Maybe I'll translate this one after I've given it a go, but I don't know what a multi-track caption and subtitle is. So I think, just, again, that's kind of the opposite of the Ron Seal thing. It's confusing me. I don't know what that is. You kind of lost my attention at this point. Some other things down here. So I think Christina picked up on this in her video. If you haven't watched hers yet, go watch hers. It's really good. But these kind of things like the buttons here on the right, it's really easy, scrolling through the page, it's almost really easy to miss that these are clickable things, and it shows you different stuff. Like you can see some of the other functions that the 3 steps are all explained for you and laid out. But again, it's not visually obvious that these are buttons, so it's very easy to skim past them. But these kind of, again, this kind of language choice about why I should translate my video. Again, as a friend of European non-native English speakers whose English is probably a lot better than mine, I get where that comes from in the translation, but why I should translate my video doesn't work in English quite as well as it could. Like, why should I translate my video? It's just a tiny little tweak, but it then makes a lot more sense and makes things flow a little bit more easily. I think then we've got down here these kind of things about let Alex explain to you how to translate it. Again, just those kind of language choices could be tidied up. We get on down here a bit further. We come back to Alejandra, so we come across her on a few of the other pages as well. But I really like this bit that we come down to down the bottom, where it's like, if you're not convinced yet, so you've got this far and you're not quite persuaded yet, and it's like, okay, then they're trying to just nudge you on that. Go on, we've got a free plan, you can kind of give it a go. But again, I'm not quite sure this language. It seems slightly jarring in that it's a really familiar kind of tone, in that it's like, oh, we'd appreciate it a lot though, and you've got this kind of abbreviation of though, which is linguistically not correct. So like, these kind of things, when I'm looking for a translation service, I don't want it translated into slang terms. Maybe I do, but you probably want all your spellings to be on point, right? So those kind of things, just again, opportunities to kind of neaten things up a bit and just help persuade those people. And you can see here we've got 25 different languages here from the 16 that we had earlier. So again, these are opportunities where you can just update things. So we covered about the buttons earlier. One of the other things I wanted to, again, all of this is just my opinion, right? But one of the things that I kind of picked up on with the stuff that you've got here about the kind of opportunity. So this is, again, talking to your particular target market. So like, things, how you can use it on YouTube and social media and on your website, these kind of things. There's a phrase that I come across in marketing quite a lot, but it's sell the sizzle, not the sausage. So it's like, you can be really functional about like, selling this hot dog and like, it's a piece of bread and, there's some meat kind of put in it's like, if you describe it literally and like what it is, it's not very cool. It's not very sexy. It doesn't really draw you in. So you want to sell like, like this, the thing that sells like a hot dog is the smell, right? That kind of really draws you in, and you hear it cooking on the grill and you're like, oh, and you can already feel like what it's going to taste like to bite into that thing and get some mustard on. Oh, so you want to sell that kind of sizzle. So like, don't go too practical about this kind of stuff about like, literally what the product does. Sell the problem that it's going to fix. Like, you don't sell the skateboard because it's a piece of wood with some wheels on. You sell it with the kind of like, looking really cool and, hanging out with your friends and having a load of great time and, learning some new tricks. Those are the kind of things. That's the reason you want to buy the skateboard, right? You don't want to buy it because it's a piece of wood. So I think some of these kind of the language and the kind of descriptions of how the service works in these kind of areas is a bit functional, and like, it could, again, a good copywriter here will like be worth their weight in gold with this kind of stuff. And again, just another kind of thing that I spotted further down here with the FAQs. Again, a great idea. Like we've seen how that gets picked up in the SERP when you mark those things up with schema. But one of the things here, again, like it hasn't been updated. So how do I translate a YouTube video? And it says soon you'll be able to upload your YouTube video just by entering the link, which would be great. It's like, wouldn't that be cool? You've already recorded your video. It's already on YouTube. I just want to drop the link in and just get you to do all this kind of hard work for me. But it says soon. And so having had a go and set up an account and had a try, it's not soon, it's already there. Like the service already exists. Type Studio have already done the work, but it's like, but your customers don't know that because you're not telling them. So again, your landing page just needs a bit of an update. Service has moved on and improved. So that's a really good way to kind of, sell your product even better. There are other last bits on this page is so. This is a good thing. So it's SEO wise, these kind of I think where are they? Down the bottom here. These kind of extra links to push through to extra pages. SEO wise, internal linking is really a great thing. But one of the things that particularly jumped out for me here is this: the ones that are slightly highlighted with these slightly sort of chunkier gray areas around them. You've got translate subtitles here twice. And this actually links to two different pages. So you can see this one links to /translate subtitles. And this one links to /translate subtitles online, which is a blog post and has a slightly different look and feel about it. But internal linking wise, these look exactly the same. So which page are you telling Google is the page about translating subtitles? At the moment, kind of both. And therefore not really either. You're just going to confuse things. So there's a little tweak you can do maybe to those kind of things to make them link to different things, use different words. So you're kind of internally optimizing your links there. A couple of little things that I picked up on UX wise. So this, again, not my particular area of expertise, but again, something that particularly jars for me when using this kind of page. Where's the scroll bar? So over here on the right-hand side, I'm using Chrome. I've got the latest version of Chrome set up, but there's no scroll bar. So if I want to kind of skip down the page, I'm using my little scroll wheel in my mouse and I can kind of use the page up, page down. But it's like people like a scroll bar and it kind of, I think this is a browser thing. So when I checked it in a different browser, I used Firefox, scroll bar appeared fine. But it's just one of those kind of things that, and I always tell my clients, test your site everywhere. Like, all your company all use Macs and you all use Safari or whatever it is, and that's great. And your site looks lovely on a big jumbo Mac screen. Test it in Chrome. Look at what your customers are using. Are they using Chrome? Are they using Firefox? Are they on a desktop? Are they on a mobile? Test all those kind of things. It's I'm not even sure if it's an urban myth, but Facebook have a day of the week where their staff can only work using a mobile device. So you have to do all the things that you want to do on a mobile device, and that really helps them improve their mobile usability. Because when we click onto this next tab here, wait for the camera to come back again, you can see how this is working. So here's the mobile screen. I'm not sure if the camera's going to come back later. It's got me hidden away here, but you can see like on a mobile screen where I've kind of used Chrome to emulate what it would look like on a mobile screen, some of the images don't work. So again, that might just be for my browser, but I think it's something to do with the way that you've kind of configured the images on the site for the Type Studio site. They've set it up and they have lots of alternative images loading in the background depending on your screen size, which is great and like helps usability and speed, but it doesn't work so much if the images don't work. And this kind of stuff, like, this is the point where you land and then the first image you see is broken, not your great first impression. The other thing with mobile, if we kind of compare it to the desktop site, had a very neat menu across the top with 1, 2, 3 options. And as lots of sites do, they've kind of condensed it down into this little kind of burger menu. But you expand this burger menu, there's a really big menu here. We've gone to a lot of different things. And again, I'm not sure how usable this is, like how clear these kind of titlings are about like what kind of things customers are going to get if they click on these things. And again, I suspect probably for the target audience this site is looking at and for the audience they're trying to go for, they're getting probably a good chunk of their traffic on mobile devices. So again, if this is their kind of first impression, a slightly confusing menu, broken images, and then you're thinking, okay, give us your credit card details. Yeah, it's kind of putting people off a bit. Scrolling down, you can see these kind of things. Again, it looks like the site's been built on a desktop, because then you get sort of further down, you get these slightly another broken image in here. And you get these things where, the text is suddenly centralized, which again on the desktop look better, but we've got everything is aligned to the left, and then suddenly this bit's in the middle and it doesn't quite work quite so neatly. one of the other things, so again, just like little sort of details that I kind of picked up on. So there's some of the other pages that are ranking pretty well according to the Semrush data. You can see on this page, we've got the webcam recorder page. There's just some little typos, which again, like, for a service selling kind of translations, that's not really the impression you want to make. So it's way down here. So we've got this guy, Alex. I mean, watching some of his videos are great. He's really good for the brand, but let Alex explain how to recrod. It's just like, that kind of stuff is just a bit, doesn't create a good impression, those kind of things. So with that kind of stuff, then it doesn't work quite so well. So just, it's easy to go and pick through that, using something like Grammarly or with those kind of services, you can get easy to pick up those kind of mistakes and find those out and neaten those bits up. There's another one I think that particularly jarred with me. So on the homepage, so of course one of your most important pages on the homepage. So I'm going to skim way down to the bottom here. But in this last little bit, the easiest way to edit a video, and we've got one of these separators in here. So this is just, again, a kind of translation font thing where you've kind of moved it through this. Separator works in some fonts but not in others, and it works in some browsers, not in other browsers. But those kind of things just, it just jars. It's going to just shift your customers out of that kind of happy mindset of wanting to give you their money. One of the other little bits that I picked up on, let's go into our next tab. That will remind me. Yeah, there's another little one in here. So this is the create a talking head video, random S underneath the Hootsuite logo. Easily done. I've done it myself. Like, when you're setting out this lovely table and all this lovely setup, and you accidentally touch the S on the keyboard and so you just get little things like that. But again, just easy things like that are easy to pick up. One of the other things that I particularly picked up on is the kind of brand consistency. Let me just on the brand consistency thing. It's like, so whilst you obviously want your landing pages to convert people straight into giving you their money or making them join your mailing list or whatever it is that you're after, you have to work out that a lot of your customers are also going to be just using this to kind of plant the seed, and maybe they're just, exploring around, and they're going to think about what other services they might use, look into some of your competitors, all those kind of things as well. Like, so that kind of consistency of brand is really important, because after they've finished looking at your competitors and hopefully deciding you're the best, they're going to come looking for you again. How they find you is a really important one. So one of the things I looked into is the kind of social media channels that Type Studio has. And so I'm on Twitter way too much, but if you go onto Twitter and search for Type Studio, as I've done here, and again, here's a tab that I prepared earlier, they don't come up. So Type Studio aren't in here. So there's like somebody else. These are just people with names in Twitter that are Type Studio that aren't this brand that we're particularly looking at. And again, the same for Instagram. If you go onto Instagram in here and we search for Type Studio, not Type, ironically, you see Type Studio, and again, they're not here. So this is not the brand that we're looking for. This is someone else with a similar name. So this is slightly confusing. And again, if you go back to the Type Studio site, you can see, and we can hover over these, you can see that it's because they're using the name Edit with Type. So if you go into this Twitter link, you can hear, so actually on Twitter, they're edit with Type. And it's the same kind of thing on Instagram too. So we go back down to the bottom here and find all these social things. So bearing in mind this kind of highly social media savvy audience you're going to be looking at, they're going to be using these kind of things, Edit with Type. They're going to be using Instagram, Twitter. Again, it's Edit with Type on all these kind of platforms. So I don't know if that was a conscious thing, if that was just a branding thing, or those names weren't available. But as one of the many people in SEO that does this far too much, I looked into the domain. So the Edit with Type domain, editwithtype.com, is available. And so because I know how lots of people in this kind of space work, as soon as this video goes out saying, oh, it's available, someone else will buy it and then try and sell it to you at a really high price. So I went and bought it because it was available. So yeah, if you want it, after you worked with Semrush on this, let me know. So I'm happy to send it your way. So if it's useful for that kind of branding thing. So that's me, Andrew from Optimizy. I hope this is useful, and yeah, thanks for the opportunity to do this.